Welcome to the session on organization of knowledge, library classification. In this session, we will discuss purpose and functions of library classification and different classification schemes. Need for library classification. Libraries collect and preserve reading materials of any form and format for the use of their readers or clientele. A reader who comes to the library for getting a document could be able to locate the same very easily on the shelf. If there are only very few, say 100 or so documents available in the library, then he or she can find out the required documents without much difficulty, or the librarian can easily help him to locate the same on the shelf. It is easy for the librarian to remember where a particular document is kept on the shelf when the number of documents and the number of shelves are few. But when the number of documents increases to thousands or millions, the situation becomes complex and unmanageable. Locating a particular document from among the numerous documents is a difficult task and sometimes becomes impossible unless the complete collection of the library is systematically arranged on the shelves in any sequential manner. If the sequence in which the documents are arranged on the shelves is known to the librarian or the reader, then it is easy for them to find out the exact place or position of any document. Therefore, it is necessary that the whole collection of documents in a library be organized systematically on the shelves for the purpose of locating any document easily. Library classification is a technique used by the librarians for this purpose. The documents in a library can be arranged in several sequences. For example, they may be arranged alphabetically by the titles, or alphabetically by the names of the authors, or alphabetically by the names of the subjects of their contents, or chronologically by the years of publication, or in any other sequence. Whatever be the sequence followed, the arrangement should be useful to the readers in locating a document or book. Therefore, library classification is the arrangement of documents on shelves in the manner which is most useful to those who read. Most often, readers approach a book by the title or author or subject. Hence, documents may be arranged by any of these attributes. If the books are arranged alphabetically by title, it will be helpful for those who approach the book by the title. However, experience shows that the title may be misquoted because it is difficult to remember the words in a title in the same sequence as it appears on the book. Moreover, title may change from edition to edition. It may also change when the book is translated into another language. Author arrangement is useful to those who want the books written by an author. This arrangement has an advantage that it brings together all the works of an author at one place. However, it does not help to locate books sought by title or by subject. Experience shows that majority of readers seek books by subject than by author or title. Author approach or title approach is possible only if the document is familiar to the reader. In a library collection, books which are unknown to the reader will be more in number in any subject. Therefore, only subject approach is possible in such cases. Hence, subject approach has been recognized as a majority approach and books are arranged in libraries on the basis of their subject content. Even if subject wise arrangement satisfies the approach of majority of readers, Arrangement of the documents alphabetically by the names of their subjects does not give helpfulness. Here is a list of subjects arranged alphabetically which reveals the unhelpfulness: accountancy, agriculture, anatomy, banking, biochemistry, botany, chemistry, commerce, economics, engineering, entomology, fine arts, forestry, geography, history, journalism, languages, literature, mathematics, medicine, philosophy, psychology, sociology, zoology. Here we can see that related subjects are separated and unrelated subjects come near each other. This is happened by the alphabetical collocation of initial letters of the subject names. Such scattering of related subjects is inevitable in alphabetical arrangement. Moreover, names of subjects are different in different languages and therefore sequence will change according to the language. This will result in inconsistency. Therefore, to eliminate the above mentioned problem in subject arrangement, subjects are denoted by some kind of numbers and symbols called notations, and the arrangement of books is done on the basis of these notations. Since the notations are assigned with ordinal values, arrangement of books becomes easy, speedy and mechanical. In library classification, there are a few things to be considered in general. First one, documents should be grouped on the basis of their thought content, that is subject matter, except in some cases. 2. The different groups should be arranged among themselves on the basis of mutual relations. Related groups must be brought together and unrelated ones separated from one another. 3. Each group of documents is allotted a number in the artificial language of ordinal numbers, and each document in each group is allotted an individualizing number on the basis of its physical features. This kind of classification and arrangement of documents increases the utility of the library collection by creating a systematic order and thereby providing a comprehensive view of the documents. Now, meaning of classification. The word classification comes from the Latin word classes. In the ancient Rome, the term classes was used to refer to a group of persons possessing certain qualities in common as well as belonging to the same class. Classification in general is the grouping of things or objects according to their degree of likeness. More elaborately, classification of any series of objects is meant the actual or mental arrangement together of those which are alike and the separation of those which are unlike. Classification is basically a mental operation. When we say we arrange things, we mean that we place them in an order which corresponds with an idea or series of ideas in our minds. We cannot arrange things in an order which did not exist in our thought. Indeed, this mental process is the true meaning of classification. The ability to distinguish the likeness and differences existing among things is peculiar to man. In animals, this ability is very rudimentary, but in human beings, this ability is developed into a higher degree. The result of classification is the formation of classes. A class consists of a number of things which are alike in certain particulars or have the same quality in common by which they may be sorted out from other things. At the same time, class is a unit by itself. It can be presumed that everything in this universe belongs to some class: plants, animals, human beings, stones, stars and so on. The mere mention of any one of such classes brings to our mind not a single object, but a whole series of things. Now, definitions of library classification. A classifier can classify not only external things or physically tangible objects, but also ideas or concepts. In knowledge classification, different subject fields are arranged according to their likeness or differences. The task of a classifier is to map the fields of knowledge clearly and comprehensively as a cartographer represents the geographical territories in a map. The cartographer clearly shows the relationships between places. In the same way, a classifier shows the relationship between different subject fields. However, library classification is more complex than a geographical map because some subjects may lose their importance, many new subjects may grow rapidly and the existing relationship between subjects may change. A book may discuss more than one subject field. However, it can be placed only at one place in the shelf. This is a limitation of actual library classification. Library classification has been defined by W.C.B. Sayers as the arrangement of books on shelves or description of them in the manner which is most useful to those who read. According to Margaret Mann, classification is the arranging of things according to likeness and unlikeness. It is sorting and grouping of things, but in addition, classification of books is a knowledge classification with adjustments made necessary by the physical form of books. In short, library classification is the process by which books are arranged on the shelves on the basis of their subject content. Books on same subjects are brought together and books on different subjects are separated from each other. Dr. S.R. Ranganathan defines library classification as the translation of the name of the subject of a book into preferred artificial language of ordinal numbers and the individualization of several books dealing with the same specific subject by means of a further set of ordinal numbers which represents some features of the book other than their thought content. Thus, according to him, library classification uses numbers and symbols to represent subjects, and books are arranged on shelves in a preferred sequence by this artificial language of numbers having ordinal values. The purpose of library classification. In practical situation, library classification delivers various functions and purpose. First one, helpful sequence of documents. Classification is used to maintain an arrangement of documents in an order most helpful to the readers. In this process, documents on related subjects get arranged in close proximity. Second, mechanized arrangement of documents. Classification with the help of notation determines the sequence once and for all, so that one does not have to redetermine the sequence of documents once again when they are returned after being borrowed or for the interpolation of new documents in their appropriate places. The notation helps to locate any document from the shelf. Third, correct replacement. Classification enables the correct replacement of documents when they have been returned from use. Fourth, addition of new document. Library classification helps in finding the most helpful place for a new document among the existing documents in the library. Fifth, withdrawal of documents from the stock. Withdrawal of a document, if required, can be done easily from a systematically arranged sequence of documents. Sixth, revealing the strengths and weaknesses of a library collection. A classification arranges books on shelf by subjects. It shows which subjects have a good collection and which subjects require more attention to be strengthened. Seventh, classification helps in circulation work. Book issue records in the circulation section can be organized according to the class numbers of the documents issued. Under each date guide, the borrower's tickets coupled with book cards are arranged in the classified sequence. The broad class numbers help to count the number of books issued on a subject, so that daily issue statistics can be maintained easily. 8. Classification helps in cataloging work. Generally, a book is first classified and then catalogued. The class number helps the subject cataloger to prepare class index entries according to the chain procedure. When printed list of subject headings is used to generate subject entries, class number gives a hint of the specific subject. The entries of the classified part in a classified catalog are arranged according to the call numbers or class numbers. 9th, classification helps in bibliographic services. Since books are arranged on shelves in the classified sequence by the subjects and the same sequence is followed in the classified part of the catalog, it is easy to prepare subject bibliographies and union catalogs for this. Thus, classification facilitates compilation of bibliographies and union catalogs. 10. Classification helps in reference service. The classified part of the catalog helps the reference librarian to get all the materials related to a query. The classification further helps to arrange the queries in a subject-wise order and file them for future reference. Thus, classification helps in providing reference service in many ways. 11. Classification helps in stock verification. Verification of stock can be done using the shelf list or shelf register, which is arranged in classified order. Since the books are also arranged on shelves in the classified sequence, stock verification can be done very easily. Different library classification schemes: general and special, enumerative, faceted and overview. A scheme of classification is a notational representation of the whole or a part of the universe of knowledge. It depicts the extension of various subjects in their relative position in such a way as neighborhood relation between or among various subjects is mentioned. The scheme should also be capable to give notational representation at their relative position to any subject that might emerge in future. According to S.R. Ranganathan, a scheme of classes is a statement showing the filiatory sequence of the classes arising in the course of the successive division of the universe of knowledge. And a scheme of classification is a scheme of classes fitted with terminology and notation. Even though the purpose of library classification remains the same, the different classification schemes differ in their scope, structure and general layout. Considering the functionality, layout and structure, classification schemes are broadly grouped into two, namely enumerative schemes and faceted schemes. Enumerative classification scheme. An enumerative scheme for classification consists essentially of a single schedule enumerating all the subjects of the past, present and the anticipatable future. The important features of an enumerative classification schemes are: 1. The schedules are long. 2. It is difficult to accommodate newly emerging subjects in a filiatory sequence among the existing subjects. Third, the class numbers denoting the subjects are monolithic. They are not broken down into components using meaningful connecting symbols to denote the different components of the subject. The positive aspect of an enumerative classification scheme is that it is easy to find out the class numbers for compound subjects, because compound subjects are enumerated as such and ready-made class numbers are available for all the subjects. However, the major defect of an enumerative scheme is that it fails to enumerate subjects of the anticipatable future, though it can easily list the subjects of the past and present. Since knowledge is ever expanding, a new subject may develop at any moment, demanding a new number in the scheme. So, the classifier has to wait for new additions of the scheme in such situations. Library of Congress Classification Scheme LC, Ryder's International Classification Scheme RIC, Dewey Decimal Classification Scheme DDC fall in the category of enumerative classification schemes. The enumerative schemes are further categorized into two: purely enumerative and almost enumerative. Purely enumerative schemes give one omnibus schedule of enumerated subjects, most of which are compound subjects. There is no provision for the synthesis of class numbers. Almost enumerative schemes enumerate most of the subjects, including compound subjects. They have a few schedules of common isolates to construct class numbers for compound subjects which are not enumerated. Faceted classification scheme. The faceted classification scheme does not provide ready-made class numbers for the subjects. Like an enumerative scheme, it also divides the universe of knowledge into a number of main classes. But the further subdivision of the main classes follows a different pattern altogether. Each main class is divided into its facets in the first instance, and the isolates in each facet are then enumerated. Any subject falling in a class will be either one of the isolates in a facet or a combination of two or more of these isolates. The isolates enumerated in the various classes are the fundamental constituents of subjects. They are fitted with numbers. By combining the numbers in different facet schedules on the basis of the rules and principles, class number for all possible subjects can be constructed. Thus, a faceted scheme admits of the analysis of facets and then synthesis of the basic facet numbers of the subject into class number. A faceted classification scheme provides meaningful connecting symbol for each facet. The merit of the faceted scheme is that it has greater resilience to the onslaught of the ever increasing universe of knowledge. Dr. Ranganathan's Collin classification is an example of faceted classification scheme. Dr. Ranganathan recognized the isolate facets of compound subjects as manifestation of 5 fundamental categories, namely personality, matter, energy, space and time. He provided separate connecting symbols for these 5 fundamental categories. Faceted schemes are further categorized into 4 species: 1. Almost faceted, 2. Fully but rigidly faceted, 3. Almost freely faceted, 4. Freely faceted. Again, depending on how the schemes are used, classification schemes are often described as general classification schemes, special or specific classification schemes. General schemes. These are also called universal schemes. They aim to cover all subjects equally. Here is a list of important and widely used general schemes. Name of the scheme: Dewey Decimal Classification, abbreviation DDC, designed by Melville Dewey, country of origin USA, year of first edition 1876. Expansive Classification EC, designed by C. A. Cutter of USA, year of first edition 1893. Third, Universal Decimal Classification UDC, designed by International Institute of Documentation, Belgium, 1896. Library of Congress LC, designed by Library of Congress US, 1904. Subject Classification SC, designed by J. D. Brown UK, 1906. Column Classification CC, S. R. Ranganathan of Indian origin, 1933. Bibliographic Classification BC, H. E. Bliss of USA, 1935. Riders International Classification RIC, designed by F. Ryder USA, 1961. Special schemes. The special schemes are limited to a specific domain of interest. They are aiming to cover particular subject or type of material. The main reason for the design of special schemes is that the traditional schemes have very little scope to provide sufficient details of any specific areas. Special scheme can deal with different aspects and vocabularies of a subject and therefore can meet special users' requirements. However, some drawbacks such as irregular revision, limited documentation regarding support, training and so on may restrict the use of special schemes. Examples of special classification schemes are British Catalogue of Music Classification, NLM Classification for Medicine, Computing Classification Scheme of the Association for Computing Machinery ACM. Now, let me summarize the whole session. In this session, we discussed the need for classification in libraries. We also studied the major purpose and functions of library classification and presents a general view of broad varieties of library classification schemes such as enumerative scheme and faceted scheme. Characteristics of general classification schemes and special classification schemes are also mentioned with few examples of each category. Now, I have few assignments for you to work out. First one, write an essay on the need and purpose of library classification. Second, what are the different methods by which books can be arranged in a library? Explain with advantages and disadvantages. Third, write a short note on enumerative classification scheme. Fourth, what is meant by faceted scheme of classification? Fifth, explain the merits and demerits compared to enumerative scheme of classification. Now, I will provide you with a list of few books for further reading. Theory of Classification, 4th edition revised, Krishnan Kumar, published by Vikas Publishing House, New Delhi, 1988. Library Classification, Facets and Analysis, written by Husain, Shabahat, published by Tata, McGraw Hill, New Delhi, 1993. Prolegomena to Library Classification, 3rd edition, written by Ranganathan S.R., published by Sharda Ranganathan Endowment for Library Science, Bangalore, 1967. Bachelor of Library Science Study Material, University of Calicut, 1995. And there is a website for your reference, shodhganga.inflibnet.com. www.library.ac.in. Thank you for watching this session. See you in the next session. Until then, bye.